interesting question. I opened the same way every time. How long have we known each other for?
A lifetime.
One full lifetime. I got to make sure I get this up. Okay, let me get it right. Hold on. Jeez. It's so sad because I do this on another program all the time. You'd think I would know the presets with Mojo. Not a clue. I know this one's beer. You would think the Moe's money pick would be the green one. It ain't. It's like blue. Anyway, we've known each other for a while. Cousin Lee has joined the program.
Yes. Good to be here.
On the phase and focus. So we're going to run through. Structurally, this is episode 4. So it's going to be phase 1 when you were a kid. Movies, music, TV, high school, whatever you remember from high school. Same thing. And then now, like, what are you into now? Are you ready?
Ready.
For phase and focus. I'm trying to make this like almost like a game show now. Oh, I just did that.
Phase 1.
Wait, we added some sound effects in here. Music. What is the first band that you remember getting into as a kid?
Aerosmith.
Really?
Absolutely. First rock and roll album I ever heard was Aerosmith's 1989 Pump. My mom had the cassette for that in the car.
Yeah.
And I remember we'd get to Monkey on My Back, and every time she would rewind it and play Monkey on My Back over and over and over again. So that album actually has become my favorite rock and roll album of all time.
Of all time?
Of all time.
See, I remember when I was younger, it was Metallica because of my father. And I remember you being into Aerosmith. I remember you weren't really into Metallica like when we were younger.
That's one of those bands where it actually took me longer to get into them and appreciate them.
Yeah. Now, the Aerosmith thing with Mom, was Mom's always a fan?
Yes.
Always?
Yep.
From way back in the day?
Mom and your dad, in their day,
Yeah.
went to see them, Kiss, all those big bands from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. It's crazy because I'm talking to my father about certain bands that we've seen that kind of overlapped, like the Judas Priest and Ozzy and all that. And he's like, I couldn't even, like, there's so many bands that I've seen. There's probably some that he's like, I wish I saw. Like, we were talking about, like, Tom Petty. I wish I saw Tom Petty.
Well, the way it worked out, and it's kind of funny because when our parents were growing up, disco was very big.
Yeah.
And my mom and your dad always leaned more towards the rock and roll side of things.
Yeah.
So when I was born, and then as I got older and started to appreciate music, I can always remember the Aerosmith Pump.
Yeah.
And that album just led me deeper into Aerosmith.
Yep.
And then just deeper into my love for music and especially rock and roll.
Right. And you were saying about the cassette. It's so funny because like this, what do you think the cutoff is age-wise that people wouldn't have had cassettes or know what that is?
I can't believe we're even asking that question, only because it makes me feel old.
I know.
I don't know.
20, at least 20.
Well, you figure CDs really became a thing, late 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah.
So cassettes probably dropped off around that time,
right,
late 90s
right.
or early 2000s.
They had a short life. So did CDs because it was like probably that mid to late 90s and then it went digital.
Well, just talking about it now, you don't even realize it, but cars now don't even have CD players in them anymore.
It's so unfortunate because the CDs that I have, I don't know who I was saying this to, the quality of a CD versus a stream is so much better.
Mm-hmm.
You pop in a CD, it just sounds so much better.
But we've been able to, in our lifetime, see cassettes be what they were, CDs, and now no CDs and everything is like you just said.
Yeah, it's all digital.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of the Aerosmith, what was the first tape or CD that you remember owning, like as a gift or something that you got?
I know Michael Jackson was one of them, actually.
Really?
Yes.
Which one?
It would have been the album, I think, with Man in the Mirror.
Okay. Great album.
Yes, it was.
That was your first, was it tape or CD?
It was a cassette.
Cassette, all right. People forget about the rewinds. Did you ever make a mixtape on the radio where you had to wait, hold on, it's coming. Pause and record at the same time?
And I think anybody would agree with this. The song you were waiting for, you'd hear it 1,000 times when you weren't trying. But then when you were, it would never come on.
Never come on. Absolutely never. What other genres were you into? Because you got Aerosmith, who did a crossover with Run DMC. You got Michael Jackson. What other genres or other bands when you were younger?
I really am not that diverse in music. I'm really just into rock and roll
Yeah.
and probably country music.
True and true. But the country came a little bit later, you think?
Country came probably mid to late 90s.
Okay, all right. So you were still younger then.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember vaguely that moms used to listen to Elvis on Sundays.
Elvis is a big influence on me as well.
Yeah.
She was a huge Elvis fan, music and movies.
And the movie. I'd never seen an Elvis movie.
Everybody thinks they're cheesy. I do think they're great.
They probably are. But every time I go to Marchetti's and I go in the bathroom, it's just loaded with Elvis posters and stuff. Did you go to any concerts when you were like that young, like high school?
Probably,
It's kind of young for a concert.
Yeah, probably
but-
not before high school.
Yeah.
Not before high school.
Okay. But it was so basically just in the rock genre. I mean, when we grew up, it was kind of the changing of the guard from metal to like that grunge. But did you get into like the Nirvanas and the
Another genre where maybe Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam?
I
yeah,
might get
that's
into
what I was
Pearl Jam, Soundgarden.
Mhm.
But the grunge era, it killed what I love with the hair bands. But I'm not. Vince Neil had said it best about grunge. Why would you want to listen to something that's depressing?
yeah.
And I completely agree with that.
It has its place. It's not really for me either. I know people get so mad when I say that, but
I'm not a
it's just-
huge fan of it, but I can appreciate it for
Yeah.
what it is.
It's got it has a place. It's just,
Absolutely.
but it killed. I mean, did the Motley stuff come a little bit later?
Motley came after high school.
Wow. All right. So then we'll get into that later. Then. All right. Let's move. Let's move over to
Okay, yeah, set. Sounds of
it's
three.
TV. This is my TV sound effect. TVs. The TVs. Let's get to start with really young cartoons.
Oh, that's
What would you
easy.
get into?
DuckTales.
DuckTales.
I remember
Classic.
having the backpack and the lunchbox for DuckTales.
I need a picture of that.
It's at Nana Pops, I believe.
Oh, good. I gotta get a picture of that. So good. Did you get into any of the Rugrats and stuff? Doug,
I really wasn't into that. DuckTales was one. Alf. Bozo the Clown.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
They had a show.
I believe there was a cartoon for Ghostbusters.
Wow.
Yep.
Cheese would love that if he didn't know about it.
And my favorite of all time, Scooby-Doo.
I know you love even
I
now.
love
You still
Scooby.
love Scooby-Doo.
I love Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. I remember watching it, but not intently.
I've always said if he was a real dog, there isn't any amount of money in the world that I wouldn't spend to have him.
Do you remember the movie when they came out?
I never got big into the movies.
The live action one where they did like Freddie Prinze Jr. and
Yes.
it just I didn't watch it. It just seemed so
There's just something about
clunky.
the original Scooby-Doo.
yeah.
There's just something about it.
They don't make any new episodes, do they?
I don't believe so. I wouldn't be interested if they did.
Yeah. Just the original. And
Just
that's
the
it.
original.
But you still watch it.
Absolutely. I just did a couple weeks ago.
I know if John's listening to this, she's like roasting right now. Oh my god! All right, so that's like the cartoons and stuff. What are the TV shows? Because when we were growing up, it was big for the TGIF, which was
That's what I was biggest into.
Family Matters, Boy Meets World.
I'm thinking of Saved by the Bell. Not
Classic.
Step by Step.
Yep, Step by Step.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Oh, that's such a good one. That was such a good one. What was the one you just said though?
Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell. Did you get into Saved by the Bell?
Love Saved by
Yeah.
the Bell.
Kelly Kapowski was my first. Everybody thinks Hillary Duff. Kelly Kapowski was my first real crush.
She wasn't on there, but Jennifer Love Hewitt was mine.
Oh, I know. You loved her.
I love Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Was her breakout in I Know What You Did Last Summer, or was she in something else?
I remember her being in Party of Five.
Oh, okay, all right. I didn't get into that, but okay, I know it.
And I think that's really before she was in any movies that I can remember.
Really, she must have been young.
She was very young.
Yeah, that was your that was your
She was
steez,
probably in her
though.
late teens, early 20s at the time, if that.
Really?
Mhm.
Yeah, that was your steez. Any like Disney shows or
It would be more towards Disney movies than I did Disney shows.
okay? You weren't really into like the Lizzie McGuire's and the Even Stevens. That
No.
was my bag right there.
No.
Kind of switching gears though, because I know you got into it when you were younger, and I would consider it a show. The NASCAR stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's from die hard, true and true NASCAR fan. Nobody can ever question that if they know you.
I'm surprised nobody calls me Racing Jason.
That's a great one.
I'm actually surprised nobody's come up with that yet.
Hey, you just coined it. Has there ever been a driver named Jason that used that?
I don't think so.
No, you just coined that. See, you heard it here. You coined that one. So where did that start from? Because I just always knew that you were into NASCAR, but like, what was the origin story? How'd you get into NASCAR?
So I got into racing through a family friend. My mom's best friend's husband had owned and sponsored race cars at Seekonk for a long, long time. And mom being a single mom, he had just suggested to her, hey, bring Jason to the racetrack and see if he likes it. Talking about Seekonk Speedway in Seekonk, Massachusetts. Yep. And went, and I remember I was about 4 years old and walked in and just said, this is what I want to do.
He walked in and he never left.
Nope. I knew right at the moment I walked in that I wanted to be a race car driver or be involved in the sport.
Yeah. So from there on, do you remember when you started watching on TV, like the Cup Series and all that jazz?
It wasn't long after.
Really?
Yeah. I immediately got into what was the then Winston Cup Series very, very quickly.
That's right, the Winston Cup Series.
Because I easily applied what I saw in person to what was on TV and
yeah,
thought it was the exact same thing, to be perfectly honest with you.
And when you started going to Seekonk, did it immediately become like a recurring thing, like every Saturday, or like as many as you could go to?
I think I've missed one entire season over the last 34 years.
No kidding.
So we've gone, Mom still goes.
Yeah.
Every week, religiously. We started going in 1990. It's now 2024, and that's our Saturday nights. That's what we do.
Shit, that's so wild. So the year did you miss COVID?
That was actually my first year in high school, I believe. My freshman year, I had a job.
Ah, that sucks. Jobs suck.
So I missed, I believe that would have been like the 2001 or 2002 season.
Right.
I worked Saturday night, so I missed that entire season.
No shit.
Aside from that, it's been every Saturday night for the last 34 years.
That's so crazy. So, I mean, and then obviously over time, you got into working with one of the teams over there.
I was involved, still am, very great friends. They're like family, the Scullys.
Yeah.
I was involved with the Scully Motorsports team I probably worked and helped them out for 15 or 16 years, I think it was.
And you started with Senior, right?
Correct.
And then he retired, and then you were working with Junior for a while. Mm-hmm. And then I think he just retire last year?
Tom just retired as well, and now his son, Tom Scully III, is racing.
And he does the Friday night trucks?
He does Saturday night trucks.
Saturday night trucks.
And I'm also there on Friday nights.
And now what do they run on Friday nights?
Those are basically your entry-level divisions.
Okay.
The Bandoleros, that's usually from ages, I think it's like 7 to 16 years old.
Really?
You have a 4-cylinder division, a pure stock division, and Legends cars.
No kidding. All right. And then when did the son start doing the trucks?
This was, I believe, Tommy's third full year.
Really? Okay, so he's been doing it that long.
Since I think 2022.
No kidding. How old is he?
Tommy would be 24 in a month.
Wow, all right. I mean, in that family, it's like you might as well keep it going. Though he likes the trucks more than the cars?
That's what he can, right now, when you start out, that's usually where you end up is on a Friday night division or usually in the truck division on a Saturday night.
Yep.
In racing at that level, it's also what you can afford to race.
Sure. You think eventually he'll move into like the car?
Like in my honest opinion, I believe his skill set is beyond the trucks. I believe he should be in a late model or a pro stock.
Gotcha.
But right now he's gaining seat time, he's getting experience, and that's more important than being in an upper echelon division.
It's an expensive sport to be in. It might be the most expensive sport to be in.
I say it all the time, there's no cost-efficient way to go racing.
Right.
There just isn't.
Right. They like almost more so than any other sport. They rely heavily on sponsors, especially, when you're talking about at the top level, they still rely heavily. I mean, you got to figure how many tires they go through and wear and tear on the car. The car gets wrecked, all those repairs.
And you're running really for nickels and dimes on a Saturday night.
Yeah, right.
When you're in an entry-level division or even on Saturday nights, these guys are running for nickels and dimes. You race because you love to race.
It's a pure love of the sport.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise it's so expensive
It's not about the money. It'll never be about the money.
And when they do on Saturdays, do they do their practice on Saturdays or do they do it on Fridays?
Yeah, so the pits will open up at 2 o'clock on a Saturday. Practice will start at 4, which will run till 5:30.
Yeah.
Or 4 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have your drivers meeting at about 5:30, 20 to 6, and then racing gets kicked off with heat races at 6 o'clock.
It's literally an all-day thing, and then
All
it's
day.
all week because then you're in the shop working on the cars, and
All the races are won at the shop. That's an old saying of racing. It's been going on for a long time.
yeah,
If you're doing a lot of work when you get to the racetrack, you're not prepared when you got there.
yeah,
And
right.
you're more than likely you're not going to run good, and if you're not running good, you're not going to win.
It's funny how you would know, even as a fan, when you're watching the Cup Series, you know when your guy has a good car that week or a bad car, just by paying attention to what's going on, and then the practices and whatnot. You can tell that they don't have a good car that week.
Well, even at Seekonk, and just like you see on TV now, there's not a lot of practice time when you get to the racetrack, which is why you say all the work has to be done at the shop. Because when you get to the racetrack, you want to make small changes,
Right,
whether it be the sway bar or air pressure adjustment, things that are very minor and minute.
right.
If you're making wholesale changes at the racetrack,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably in for a long night.
Yeah, right. I got to experience, last time I went to Seekonk, I think, was probably 99 I went. But I got to experience somewhat. I wish if I wasn't so far from home and aching to get home after that weekend, I would have stayed. But the Oxford, was it Oxford 250?
Oxford 250.
Yeah, up in Maine, up in Oxford, Maine.
That not only is the biggest race in the Northeast, I consider it to be the biggest race in North America at the short track level.
Yeah.
The only one that really would rival that is the Snowball Derby down at Pensacola.
Now, you went to Oxford at least once, right?
I've done the 250 one time about
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Did you like it?
Loved it.
Yeah, it was a good time.
43 cars on a quarter-mile racetrack is just unbelievable.
Yeah. It was cool. I got to fly my drone and do some filming out there. I wish I could have stayed, but after that weekend. I couldn't wait
Unfortunately, I
to
know
get
you
home.
had to leave early, but it's a long day. That's a really long day in
Yeah.
racing.
We were working with the people at Dirty Water, and one of the guys that we were filming with, he owned the car for Joe.
Pastor, I believe.
Yes, yep.
The 20 car.
Yeah, yep. He seemed like a cool guy. I mean, I didn't want to get too involved because I'm filming. I don't want to throw him off.
We had raced against them. I don't know those guys personally, but we've run against them.
Yeah. He seemed like a cool guy. Seemed pretty chill. Anything else on the NASCAR front?
No, because we'll be here.
I know,
way
we
too
have to do
long.
just a special, but I didn't want to move on without actually touching on that because that is a big part of your life and growing up, especially.
It's the one thing I think everybody associates with me.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You could run into somebody that knows me and doesn't realize it, and if you say, "Does he like NASCAR?"
Yeah.
Bam.
And I remember it was Ernie Irvin, then it was Tony, and then it was now it's what's his face?
Kyle Larson.
That's it, Chase Elliott.
They're teammates, so I guess that works.
Normally I'd switch gears, but there's also another big factor when you were younger that you got me into, the wrestling thing. When did the wrestling come about? Because I remember you brought a tape when my father lived over in Coventry. You brought a tape over of the Royal Rumble '98, and that was like my opening.
That's the one Stone Cold won, I believe, right?
Yeah, because of the music hit, he came out from behind. Mark Miro was throwing his arm, like they had a bunch of guys in the ring, and he went from behind everybody, and he won that. He beat The Rock at the end.
Wrestling, I think that started at a really young age with our grandfather. I watched it with Pop downstairs.
Yeah.
Wrestling's been a big thing in sports,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like everybody's been interested in it. And I got the bug early as well.
Do you remember your first memory of watching wrestling, or just because you were always watching it with Pop that you just
I think
kind of got ingrained in it?
I wouldn't say I became really interested in it right away. It was one of those things when if it was on, it would catch my eye. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Not until probably maybe being 7, 8 years old, getting into Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
That's when I really became obsessed with wrestling.
If people know you, they know this, but I'll vouch for you here. You're an OG Triple H. You're a Hunter Hearst Helmsley guy.
I don't know what it was. I still don't know. But I don't know if it was just the gimmick
The gimmick of he was like the Greenwich, like the rich Greenwich
Snobby,
kid. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
People forget that. And then he moved on. He went into DX.
I'm
and
glad
then,
you brought that up because
Yeah.
before Triple H became Triple H,
Yeah.
who we all know him as now, I was a big fan of his.
You're an OG you were a Hunter Hearst Helmsley guy. But this is before Triple H.
And everybody that I know of could not stand him. I think I would get the question all the time, what in the hell do you like that guy for?
Yeah, right. I was just talking about this with somebody else because I know you were a big fan, and it never really resonated. Not a big like Hart Foundation Bret Hart guy, and then when you watch it in the ring, I think Shawn Michaels is one of the best and most underrated performers, and I think because he was such an asshole, that's why I liked him. And I thought Bret Hart was too polished, and he was too much of the good guy.
I was a huge Bret Hart fan. I still am. I if I had to name an all-time favorite wrestler,
Yeah,
it's probably Bret Hart.
really.
And I think you're absolutely right about Shawn Michaels. I think Bret Hart is right there with him.
Technically, yeah. I think
As
it was
a
the
fundamental and technical wrestler.
yeah.
I think Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels are probably the two best I've ever seen.
In the ring performers.
Absolutely.
Shawn Michaels, he was so good at selling when he was hurt. It's just everything about, but it was his whole character, it was his whole like, and then once he got Triple H,
the persona.
oh yeah, and I like that. That's why I like. I mean, Stone Cold's my favorite, always and forever. And what I liked about him was he was a face, but he was like kind of the anti-authority. He was like. Yeah, that's what I like.
As was born DX.
Right, exactly. I mean, you have to like DX. It just, I felt like Bret Hart he was just too polished for me.
Knowing what I know now, seeing the documentaries and everything about Bret, I think he exuded his love for the business the entire time he was in it. I think that's why he was the consummate good guy.
Yeah.
He relished in that role. I mean, they tried to make him a heel at the very end, but Bret Hart is the ultimate good guy.
I mean,
Good versus evil. Bret played that better than anybody.
it was almost like if you didn't have the NWO thing with WCW, it was kind of what, if you watch the documentary with Vince, it's kind of the problem they had with Hulk. He was so much of the face, they couldn't make him a bad guy. And then it kind of worked out because you had these other figures going to WCW, and you're like, oh, you know what we can do? Flip Hogan into Hollywood Hogan and make him.
It killed me at the end to see Bret with the Hart Foundation. That absolutely killed me with the whole America versus Canada thing. That drove me crazy.
Yeah. And he kind of got a bad, I mean, he got screwed over.
Yes, he did.
By Vince, and then it was the Montreal Screwjob, and then obviously Owen, which I didn't watch that pay-per-view, but I remember the pay-per-views used to be on Sundays, and I remember going to school and everybody was talking about on Monday morning. Like,
I remember that.
And it's just so crazy that he died and they kept the whole, like nowadays that would shut down the entire thing. Back then
the industry would be in a.
Oh yeah, but they kept doing matches.
I'm still shocked that that event did continue that night.
It's crazy.
Even all these years later, it's, you know, you see the documentary on Bret.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a big part of his life. Mm-hmm. And to know that that event went on that night is kind of mind-boggling, even still.
Even at the time, I'm like, wow, they really did that. And now it's even more crazy because that would just never happen. They would never continue an event like that.
The fact that they were rolling Owen past fellow wrestlers in the back, and they all knew that something was terribly wrong.
Yeah.
And for that to continue is, like I said, it's just very mind-boggling.
And they announced it on air. Like,
yes.
JR was the one who announced it, and the match was still going on. They're like, his blood is still in the ring, and they're wrestling. It's like, I don't know how you...
That kind of reminds me of Dale Earnhardt, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Aside from Dale being on the very last lap, and that's what ended the race, I can't imagine had that happened 50 or 60 laps earlier in the race continuing.
Right.
And the commentators having to go on national TV live
right.
and announce that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy. All right, let's move on to... It's my film projector. Takes a second. Move on to movies when you were a kid.
There's two that jump off the page, and this is easy. This is very, very easy.
Okay, let's hear it.
You know what I'm going to say first. I think everybody knows what I'm going to say first.
I'm gonna just actually I don't know. Go ahead because I'm waiting for one.
Days of Thunder.
Yeah, see there you go. There's one. Where's the other one?
Backdraft.
Backdraft. Wow. Okay.
I am a huge, huge fan of Backdraft.
Yeah. I knew Days of Thunder was gonna be.
Well, I
I don't think I've ever watched it.
with my dad being a firefighter, I was intrigued with that movie when it came out in the early 90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was probably watching it before I should have been watching it.
Of course.
But yeah, that Backdraft is probably my second favorite film of all time.
Really? What's your
Yes.
first favorite film?
Days of Thunder.
Is this, all right, so those are your favorite movies, and they're from when you were a kid. What other movies did you get into? Because I know you also were a Space Jam guy.
To like music, movies are so hard because there's just so many.
Yeah,
So many. It's so hard to single movies out.
yeah.
I'm into every genre. It can be comedy,
Yeah.
thriller, horror. It doesn't matter what it is for me.
Yeah. But was there? I mean, the staple ones when you were a kid. You know, were you a Sandlot guy? Were you a
Loved the
Space Jam?
Anything with Michael Jordan, I loved.
Yeah, right.
It didn't matter if it was basketball, movies, TV shows. If Michael Jordan was in it, I was about it.
Any other sports movies that you got into, like the Mighty Ducks?
I love the Mighty Ducks.
What's your favorite? 1, 2, or 3?
Probably the original.
Oh wow! All right. I should have did it 1, 2, 3. Go. Mine's 2. D2.
They're all good.
The original's good too.
It's so hard to put them in order. It really is.
Did you ever see Heavyweights?
I did, but I don't remember any of it at this
Oh
point.
my god.
It's been so long.
It's still hilarious. Like you have to go watch it. I know you got racing this weekend, literally tonight, tomorrow night, Sunday, but
Oh, we're good. We're good. We're done.
Oh, you're done?
We're done. We've been done for a few weeks now.
Okay, all right. So you're good. You got nothing to do tonight or tomorrow. Watch Heavyweights.
I remember you talking about this on one of your other
programs.
programs,
Yeah.
and I had meant to go back and watch it, but I forgot. It slipped my mind. So
What? I think it's on Disney Plus if you have it.
it's one of those I need a refresher on big time.
It's so Ben Stiller's so funny in it. It's so funny. And then another one was Major Payne.
Major pain.
Damon Wayans, I don't think he gets enough credit in the comedy era, like world, because
He did after that one.
his performance, but I think people forget, like his performance in that was so funny. And then also, if you ever watch My Wife and Kids, the sitcom that he was on, when he had the dad, had the 2 kids, and he was My Wife and Kids. You never watched that?
Vaguely.
ABC
I
Family.
remember it vaguely.
He was so funny in that because he was like the way he was as a parent was just so funny. But that was another one. I don't know if that you got me into that one potentially. Major Payne.
Major pain.
Major Payne and La Bamba. Like, I wasn't gonna move on sections without talking about La Bamba,
The one-liners in La Bamba would keep us here all day. So
which is so funny because between me, you, and my sister John, we grew up with that movie, and then now John is in a relationship with Alex, and then out of nowhere, Alex, he could go bar for bar with us, which is so crazy because not many people that I know have even seen.
when I
the
finally
movie.
got to meet Alex,
Yeah.
and we were talking about that movie, I couldn't believe it either. I thought we were the only 3
Right.
that knew anything about that movie and could quote it line for line until we met Alex.
I think I might have to put those sound effects in here. These look like shit. Should have kept my mouth shut. I just say that all the time. But that was a big one.
You've grown, Cavone.
Richie Valenzuela and his flying
flying
guitar. That could be a whole nother episode, but I didn't want to leave this section without talking about La Bamba for a second.
But movies, as far as movies, there's just so many.
Yeah.
So as far as Days of Thunder and Backdraft go, those are always the easiest because they're my
Right.
favorite. I think as I got older, though, seeing a few tidbits on YouTube of behind the scenes with Backdraft
Yeah.
really ignited my love for the movie even more.
Yeah.
Knowing that they didn't use, is it CGI that they didn't use any CGI in Backdraft. They used all real fire to record that movie and film that movie, which is for the early 90s is absolutely amazing.
Who starred in Backdraft?
Kurt Russell,
Okay.
William Baldwin, Robert De Niro was in it.
He's a good one. Those are good names.
He was the investigator.
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen that movie. Days of Thunder I've seen clips of.
It's Top Gun with race cars.
Yeah, okay, there you go. I mean, that was another one.
It really, truly is
Top
Top Gun
Gun.
with race cars.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, here we go. You ready?
Phase 2.
Phase 2. This is high school era. Let's go to. Is this where the love for the crew came in, or was this after? It was just there after high school?
I'm not sure how much it was. It definitely wasn't high school. High school was made up of Three Doors Down,
Mm-hmm.
Godsmack, Nickelback, especially Three Doors Down. Three Doors Down, I think, took me through high school.
I remember when
After they hit it big with Better Life album.
Kryptonite was the. I remember being middle school
I don't
when
know
that
if it was the Better
came
Life or just Three Doors Down self-titled, but that album and then the next one, which might have been the Better Life.
And have
or
you seen
Away
them?
from the Sun? I'm sorry. Those
Yeah.
two albums carried me through high school.
Have you seen them live?
I've seen them live.
Yeah.
They were excellent.
I just saw them at this show.
I saw them way back in probably, I think it was my senior year of high school, 2000. I think it was October, November of 2003 at the PPAC.
No way. Oh,
Shinedown opened for them.
wow.
That was a great show.
Was that your first concert?
I want to say my first concert was Aerosmith.
That's a big first concert.
And I believe that was my sophomore year of high school.
At the Garden, Boston?
Providence,
Oh, wow.
the Dunk.
No way.
Whatever it was then, Providence Civic Center, the Dunk.
It's crazy because I don't think that they get the shows. I mean, it's a nice venue. It's not as big as the Garden, but it's a good sized venue. I don't think they get
I
the
remember
shows
my
like
mom
that.
buying the tickets, and it originally got canceled
Mm-hmm.
and then rescheduled, and we went to see it was Aerosmith with Lenny Kravitz opening.
Wow, what a show.
It was a great show.
Man, especially in Providence because that venue is perfect.
I bel-
There's no bad seat there.
It might have been on their Just Push Play tour. I
Okay.
could be wrong, but it was around that time when they put out Just Push Play.
Yeah, that was your first ever concert. Probably.
Alan Jackson, I think, might have actually been my first ever concert with Pop.
Was that at a casino?
Would have been. I might have went to shows before that, but I don't remember. But I remember that was 1998 or 99, Worcester
Yeah.
Centrum.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was Brad Paisley and Rhett Atkins, I believe, opening up
Wow.
for Alan Jackson.
No way. It's kind of sad because I think this year Alan Jackson was just doing his farewell
Yes.
tour, and he did a couple shows in Boston. I
Yes.
think.
A month or two ago, I believe.
Yeah, that would have been a cool show to go to.
I really wanted to go.
Yeah. Well, you didn't text me, so. Did you see him just that one time? Because I know Pop was a big Alan Jackson fan.
No, that was actually something that Pop and I did together quite a bit. Anytime a new album came out, I'd go out and buy it for myself and one for him.
Yeah, yeah.
But I had to see Alan Jackson over a handful of times.
Wow.
Between Worcester, Mohegan, Providence, seen Alan quite a few times.
Yeah, I would imagine that he's solid in concert.
He's one of those guys, kind of like George Strait, he reminds me of.
Yeah, yeah.
It's nothing wild, crazy, or over the top. It's just an hour and a half to 2 hours of just music.
But he's got such a good voice. I would imagine he's got to be
excellent.
solid
Excellent.
in concert.
One of his greatest things that he does live is the blues man.
Mm.
He sits down on like an old bar stool, all the lights dim, and that song goes on for 3 or 4 minutes, maybe even longer.
Really?
It's amazing live.
Man. Yeah, I've never been to a country show, mostly because they do Country Fest at Foxborough, and
I went to the original.
Did you?
I went to the very first Country Fest back in 2004.
Who was on that? Kenny was a...
Toby Keith was the headliner.
Wow, R.I.P.
R.I.P. Toby, Montgomery Gentry, Gretchen Wilson. I think Red Atkins might have been at that one as well.
Really?
I think Joe Messina. I caught Joe Messina at the original one.
I've just heard that it was such a shit show every year of like the drunken stupidity.
I think that's the Kenny days.
Yeah,
I think the Kenny crowds get a little out of control.
But I don't get why. I don't know. But actually, Kenny was the first one that I started listening to around that time. That's when I started getting into country more. I mean, growing up, I heard like Brooks and Dunn, but I didn't really get into them until like Kenny around that 03, 04 time frame.
The biggest reason why I've never been to Country Fest was racing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a Friday and Saturday
Yeah,
night.
he's-
So
Listen, if you're gonna date Jay, you're gonna be a part of his life. Saturdays and Sundays are out. Sorry.
they're off the table, man.
Only for like there's a handful of weeks in the winter that you can catch him, but then football, and then he gets deep into football. So
Football just gets me through.
yeah, yes.
It gets me through the winter time.
Right, exactly. What was I gonna say about the other music side? But you did get into crew because I was still in high school, so you must have just been just out of high school when we went to that first show in Providence.
My buddy Kyle at the time I'm not even sure how he got into the crew like he did, but he was absolutely obsessed. He had every album. I remember the one album he had was Motley Crue, Music You Can Crash Your Car To. And he would have that on in his Chevy Blazer. I'll never forget it. And from there on, it rubbed off on not just me, but all of our friends. We all became huge crew heads.
Right.
And I was no exception.
Yeah. I remember going to that show. I think it was March 06 was the first. Was it Red, White, and Crew or Crew Fest?
Red, White, and Crew.
Red, White, and Crew.
I know Kyle and I went in Boston, I believe it was March of 05 or March of 06 we went. And and that's still one of the best rock and roll shows I've ever seen.
I think it was March. I don't want to say March of 06 they played in Providence, that show. I have this ticket stub upstairs. I'll check.
I just thought it was out of control that a band would ride motorcycles right onto the stage.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was like the coolest thing.
That and then Tommy Lee with the titty cam. That was like his go-to thing. I was like, wait, what the fuck?
The titty cam lives on at every cruise show.
Yeah. It's the best. And then the movie came out. The movie's like top notch.
Awesome.
The
It
dirt.
took forever to get it in motion, but once it did, it was well worth the wait.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remembered some of the songs that they came out with, but I didn't really listen to them until I went to that show, and then it was like I've seen Motley Crue more than any other band.
I read the book,
Yeah.
watched the movie. Obviously, in between the book and the movie, I saw a lot of shows with them,
Right.
and they are everything I think rock and roll. They are rock and roll personified.
Yeah.
They really are. They are all about the debauchery and the show for the people. I mean, it's out of this world. If you haven't seen The Crew, seeing how they continue this, whatever it is, tour that they're on that seems to be lasting for 5 years.
Yeah, right.
I can't say that I'm into them now. I think Vince has really, unfortunately, fallen off.
Yeah.
But if you just want to see a great rock and roll show,
Yeah.
it's Motley Crue, hands down.
Yeah. I see videos now too of Axl, and not to be rude, but it's like, who's paying to see that? It's like
Not me.
sad to see those clips. I mean, he's bad, but even towards the end, like Vince, one of those tours, he blew out his voice.
I think was it the
rough.
show that we went to together where he was sick
Might have been.
with Aerosmith?
Yeah. Because they opened for Aerosmith.
They opened for
in,
Aerosmith, and I think he
Great
had
Woods.
laryngitis or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he made it through the set, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I think when the last time I saw, although they just came out with this thing that they're potentially doing a world tour again,
It
right?
ended up being a Vegas residency.
Oh,
So they're going back there, and I don't know if it's after this year or after the new year.
okay.
They're doing another residency.
It's worth seeing if you haven't seen them, but I'll be honest. When I saw them on the farewell tour at Great Woods again, I think that was like probably the third time I seen them there. I was okay with this is my goodbye. I don't know what year that
I
was.
don't even
18,
remember the last
19?
time I saw them. I didn't see them on their farewell, that 18, the one that
Yeah,
you're talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
I didn't even go to that.
Really?
So it was before that when I saw them last.
Yeah, I want to say I've seen them at least 4 or 5 times.
I've probably seen them double that.
Yeah, it was a lot. But
When they came around, I was going.
yeah, I got to look at my ticket stubs because I had a bunch of them. I think it was like 4 or 5.
Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people that holds on to that stuff.
Oh, I do. I
It
have
ends
to.
up right in the trash when I get home.
Oh my god! Did you get? But watch when I show you that binder upstairs. You'll be like, I wish I kept these. The only thing that
I'm
sucks
really
now
good
is
with dates, though. I usually can tell you that off the top of my head when I went to something.
the shit thing now is that the digital tickets because I like to have the physical copy because I would save it. But anyway, that's just me. All right, let's go to.
Okay, yeah. Set. Sounds of fade. And action.
So you said around this time, high school and just after, you don't remember much TV. But I remember that time being big with the reality TV. If you remember Flavor of Love, Rock of Love, did you get into any of the reality?
I've never been a big reality TV guy.
Yeah, I mean,
even now, nothing about those shows interests me.
Yeah, I mean now they're even worse. But you got into what was it?
Rescue Me with
Rescue
Dennis
Me.
Leary.
Yeah. And that came out around the time we were in high school, just after maybe.
Probably just after.
Yeah,
And that ran for a handful of seasons, if not more.
but that was another firefighter show.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And it was one of the, we were talking before we started recording. It was like the FX had a series of shows that was like softcore porn.
Rescue Me was no different.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't expect anything less from Dennis Leary.
I know, if you know Dennis Leary in his comedy, you would get it. How many seasons did that show do?
I would think at least a handful.
Yeah.
At least a handful.
Remember, that was a big staple show for them back in the
It
day.
was.
Yeah.
It was. I don't even remember what even got me into it. I just remember, I think, sitting down one night, tuning in,
Yeah.
and I was like, this isn't too bad.
Right. Did you ever get into Sons of Anarchy at all?
No, and I've heard a lot of good things about it.
If you got the time, give it a shot. Do you like did you like any of the like mob movies or anything? We'll get into that in the next section, but
Oh, God, yeah, of course.
all right. So I won't we'll pause on that for a second, but if you're into that kind of stuff, Sons of Anarchy might you I think you would like it. Cuz it came out around 05-ish and then went to like
Was that also on FX?
Yeah. I think it finished around 2013 or so. Maybe it was late. I think it was shit, now I don't remember how many seasons it was. 7. I think it was 7.
That might have been the next biggest thing after Rescue Me.
Yeah, because right around that time,
I'll say because
Rescue
the
Me
timeline
ended.
adds up to Rescue Me being their premiere show, and then when that ended, jumping into Sons of Anarchy.
Yep. Yeah, I think you would like it. But you also liked what's the other one everybody tells me to watch and I don't watch it? The one with Bryan Cranston. What's the show with Bryan Cranston? You don't know either?
No, drawing a blank.
Oh my God, people are probably like screaming right now.
I just recently binge watched The Ranch,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that is hilarious.
Really?
Oh, it's hilarious.
Is that on Netflix?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to
I'm
think.
actually a big Ashton Kutcher fan.
Really?
Yes.
So did you watch Punk'd around that time? Remember when you used to
Again,
Punk?
never really got into it.
Yeah.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, kind of like Jackass.
Jackass is so good, though.
What I would see was always really good, but I wouldn't sit down religiously and watch it. No.
Not even like the spin-offs, like Wild Boys and Viva La Bam? No.
Never really got big into that stuff.
Really? I remember being in probably like freshman year, and I think it came on a Sunday. Viva La Bam was like a Sunday night or something. I remember that there was one class that I had that we would specifically talk about the shit that went on in the episode of Viva La Bam. This is going to drive me nuts. I have to look this up. As soon as I say it, you're going to be like, oh, yeah. I have to literally Wikipedia Bryan Cranston and the role
I'm drawing a complete
he's
blank
most
here.
famous for. This is so ridiculous. Breaking Bad.
Never watched it.
Okay. Oh my God. What about Malcolm in the Middle though? He should be more famous for Malcolm in the Middle than Breaking Bad. Did you ever get into Malcolm in the Middle? Nothing, huh?
No.
So you weren't really into the TVs around
Not
that
really.
time?
No.
No.
After my, TGIF stage, I
Yeah.
don't think I ever really followed anything religiously.
No. And maybe until like the streaming came out, like the
Yeah.
Netflix and whatnot. All right. That's fair. Look, I'm already screwing this up. Let's get into the movies. What movies were you into? I mean, there was a lot of stuff that came out around high school and just after.
This is always the hardest section just because there's just so many.
Let's go to the mob because we were just talking about mob
Oh,
movies.
Goodfellas.
Okay, do you remember when you first saw Goodfellas?
Off the top of my head, no.
Somewhere around that time frame. You had to be at least a little bit older. I think I was like maybe a freshman or something.
It might have been during that might have been during high school.
Yeah.
It definitely wouldn't have been middle school, that's for sure.
Yeah, but so that was like the first mob movie. Were you hooked immediately?
Goodfellas, yes.
Yeah.
You know what took me a while was The Godfather. I never understood the big deal until I got older.
Right, until you get older.
Until I got older. Then I was like, wow, these really are good.
That's a good point because when you get older, the way that The Godfather is filmed in the storyline, it kind of is a little bit more like
I think you
intricate.
need to be older to appreciate it.
Yeah, especially
really
2.
do. Yes.
Because 2 keeps going back and forth, and it's
One
like,
of the greatest films in cinematic history.
oh yeah, 3, but 1 and 2
3, you can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But 1 and 2 is
phenomenal.
absolutely.
That's top 10 material.
Mhm.
What about the other ones like Bronx Tale?
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Aside from Goodfellas, excellent movie.
They
I've actually wanted to go see the.
I was just gonna say this show.
Yeah,
He's I think he might have just passed.
it's supposed to be coming to Providence.
Yeah.
I don't know if we just missed it or if it's actually coming up soon.
I looked up tickets. I thought it was rather expensive, but it was supposed to go to Cranston, I think.
I think one of the things that always stays with me is the line from "Is Mickey Mantle going to pay your rent?" or whatever he says to him.
Oh yeah.
and it absolutely just destroys his love for the Yankees and Mickey Mantle.
One of my favorite things that along those lines is Pop used to say this. Whenever people would get all riled up about sports or whatever, he goes, "They don't pay, quote unquote, they don't pay my fucking bills." Like anytime somebody gets riled up about like sports, like it's all in good fun. But if you're getting serious, at the end of the day, they don't pay my fucking bills.
I really do hate that in the movie though, because it really did change him after he heard that.
Right.
It almost took away his innocence in a way.
Yeah.
And that I think that comment made him grow up really fast in that movie.
Yeah. And that was actually his story.
Yes.
That was Chaz Palminteri. That was his story growing up.
Yep.
And he does a one-man show that we were just talking about. I want to say that it's probably this month.
I think it's coming up.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was expensive. But I've heard nothing but good things, so I really did consider it.
It's on the to-do list.
Yeah, it's at some point. You got to do it. How about like Donnie Brasco?
You know, I don't think I've ever sat down and watched that from start to finish.
Yeah, so you have homework today. You have to go watch Heavyweights and Donnie Brasco.
And the funny part is I think I had just come across that a few weeks ago. Within the last month, I think I'd come across it and skipped it like I usually do.
Oh, my God, no. Probably Johnny Depp's best role. Him and Pacino.
Is Johnny Depp in Black Mass?
Yes.
I just watched that.
Okay, what'd you think?
Excellent movie.
Yeah.
Excellent,
That one was
excellent
good.
movie.
It was really good. It felt like it didn't have the, I don't know. It was good, and I like the way they shot it. It just felt like it was like maybe not as good. The story wasn't told as well as like The Departed, if that makes sense. Because The Departed was also loosely based on.
I didn't have any
Whitey Bulger.
expectations going into it.
Yeah,
But it was really good.
it was good. I just felt like the storyline of The Departed.
And I'm not
was
the
better.
biggest Johnny Depp fan, but he did a great job in that movie of being Whitey Bulger.
I think you would like Donnie Brasco. You like mob movies, and if you like the way he played that role, I mean, it's a completely different character, but it's a true story though, where he infiltrates the mob. It's really good. All right, comedy wise, around this time, trying to think of like the Dodgeball was big when we were around this. Did you get into like the Vince Vaughns and the Will Ferrells? Okay,
Vince Vaughn's another one. I think he's just absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. We always talk about the
Wedding Crashers.
Wedding Crash, the breakup. Right, we always talk about the breakup and the Four Christmases. I have to say it here. I have to say it here. I'm sorry. His performance, his comedic performance in Four Christmases gets better every time I watch it, and nobody talks about how fucking funny he was.
It's underappreciated.
Oh, it was.
It might be one of his most underappreciated films.
He was so fucking funny with like when they're on the roof and they're changing the satellite dish and they're like, "Oh, did you major in satellite dish installation at fucking Stanford?" And they all like start laughing. He goes, mock me because I'm educated. That's awesome.
Just when he comes in the house with the gifts and the kids open them.
Yeah.
And they throw it in his face that it was supposed to be under a certain amount.
Right.
And it just starts this whole fiasco.
Yeah. So good. The Will Ferrell ones. Do you have a favorite? Talladega Nights.
It's such a spoof on NASCAR that I almost don't like it.
Oh,
because it spends so much time making fun of it.
Yeah, no, but it's so good.
It's definitely not my favorite.
No,
definitely not my favorite. For Will Ferrell, no.
All right, what else you got though? Step Brothers.
I would probably say Step Brothers would be my favorite.
That's such a classic.
I remember the first time seeing that,
Yeah.
and it is. It's hilarious from start to finish.
It's so good. That's one of those ones where if they make a
I'm not gonna call
sequel,
him Dad.
not even say that's fire. Like I hope that they don't make a sequel because I feel like it would potentially ruin it.
I think that's one of those. I think don't touch.
You don't need to.
Nope, leave it alone.
I think between a lot of his movies like Talladega Nights, Semi-Pro, just they're good for what they are.
There's one actually I haven't seen.
Semi-Pro?
I don't think I've ever seen that
Throw
one.
it up there. If you like Will Ferrell and the ridiculousness of like Talladega Nights, I think you would like that one.
I think the one thing about Will Ferrell that drives me nuts is it's just the same thing over and over. It's kind of like Adam Sandler.
Yeah, and Kevin Hart.
It's like
yeah,
wash, rinse, repeat with those guys. Not that it's not good,
right.
but you're watching the same thing over and over.
I think the good thing about Adam Sandler is he does play a different character. They're all kind of like quirky and like outlandish mostly. But with Will Ferrell, a lot of the times, even with, you ever watch Daddy's Home? With
I don't think
Mark
I've seen that.
Wahlberg? Yeah, skip it. I left that theater. A lot of times he was playing like the kind of like the dorky dad kind of. He played that in a few different movies. I'm like, this is getting like tired. And then Kevin Hart kind of plays the same character too in a lot of his movies.
Hey, there was one even with Will Ferrell that he's living out on the front lawn of his house.
Was that Everything Must Go?
Everything must go.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
You can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
That's when you can leave it.
Yeah. See, people say that I don't like Will Ferrell. I do, but there's some movies where I'm like, it's just not for me.
Oh, speaking of Will Ferrell, Old School.
Oh God,
That's a classic.
that was like
Absolutely a classic.
that was the super bad before super bad.
Yes.
Was Old School.
That's actually a good way of putting it.
It was so good, so funny. Luke Wilson was hilarious in that too.
Played a great role.
Yeah, he did.
The Godfather.
Yeah. He's showing up at his office. They're like, no, not now. What about horror? Because you're into the horror movies.
Even my horror though, it's limited. I love the Saw, all the Saws.
It's a thriller. It's not a horror movie. It's a thriller.
I know we just had this conversation the other day. I agree with you. It's probably more of a thriller, but it definitely falls in the horror category.
Yeah. No, I could see that. I just like to poke fun because it's kind of like a Final Destination in a way.
That was one of those movies I remember when I saw the original.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I saw the original, they might have already been on the second and third one.
Yeah.
I knew right away. Oh, I gotta get caught up. I gotta see what everybody's talking about.
Right. I remember going to the movies to see the original one, and it was like. But my thing
I
was,
think that's 20 years this year.
yeah, it is
For Saw.
because they're actually doing shows at the showcase or something about it. But I remember going back to school and everybody was talking about it. I go, that movie sucked. Like, how did it suck? I go, because they both fucking died at the end. No, they didn't. And then you watch the second one, like, yeah, they did. How are they going to survive?
I actually like that though.
I get it now, but at the time.
it's different.
Yeah.
It didn't follow the stereotypical ending.
And I get that. I think at the time, I'm like, I watched an hour and a half, 2 hour movie, and you kill them at the end. But I did like the way that the guy, he was laying there the whole time, and it was him, and it's good now.
As far as horror goes, even the old school stuff, I'm not really big on it. You know,
Yeah.
Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy. I'm not huge into that stuff.
Is it too corny? Because I know sometimes it's like, it can be dated.
It's not really scary,
Right.
I guess.
Right.
Whereas with something with Saw, the storyline compelled me as much as the horror or the thrill of it.
Yeah, sure.
It had a really good, there was just a really good storyline to it. There was actually, like, you could see somebody doing that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's tough, but it's more realistic. I think that's
Yes.
what I like about my horror movies too. Is it's got to be a sense of realism. I think with Michael Myers, they kind of ruined it. If you watched all of them, they ruined it with like the curse.
Anything that gets too far off track for me,
Yeah,
I can't stay with it, and it doesn't really, it doesn't capture my interest.
right. That's why I'm worried about Terrifier 3. This is actually a good segue. Let's go right into it.
Phase 3.
Let's keep this going into phase 3. We'll start with the movies because you are one of the people that actually has seen Terrifier and enjoy Terrifier. What do you prefer right now, 1 or 2?
Probably the original.
Okay. because it was like the foundational piece.
It sets the stage.
Yeah,
It sets the stage. Yep.
I do like the original. That's actually tonight is going to be the binge watching of 1 and 2.
Again, Terrifier. I can see somebody doing that, and
Right.
it's very realistic.
That's where I'm at with the horror movies. It has to be shit that I can envision happening, and that could happen.
After I watched the first one, I knew there was a second one. Again, like Saw, I had to get caught up. I had to see what the next one was all about.
Are you gonna see 3?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I told you. I think I'm gonna go Halloween. I think that's the perfect.
Oh, that's great. If it's still out, you gotta hope it's still out.
Well, I think it's only coming out this week.
It came out yesterday, so
I would think
this
it'd
is
be in the
opening-
theaters in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Or 3 weeks.
the way that it is though, there's limited show times. These movies don't stay in theaters very long.
Well, like you, the less people, the better. So
Yeah, right. I chaps my ass. When was the last time you went to the movies?
it might have been 2 years ago for the Elvis movie.
Okay,
Mhm.
I didn't see it. I watched some on like clips, but
Very long-winded, but good.
yeah,
But good.
the kid Austin Butler seemed like he played.
Yes, yep.
He did that pretty well.
Yes.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. You haven't been to movies in 2 years. Man, you better hope it's still
Honestly,
in
I
theaters.
don't think there's a lot of good movies these days.
No, they're not.
Nothing worth seeing. Nothing I can't wait for. Let's put it that way.
That's fair. I just like the experience of going. I'll go see a shitty horror movie.
Oh no, I absolutely agree with you. But to actually get there and to go see it, yeah, that's like a project for me.
Yeah, especially now that they have the recliners. It's a good thing. It's always a good and a bad.
I have been since those have been in.
All right, that's a good thing. The bad thing is there's less seats, so there's a bigger chance. Like, I'm amazed because now you see it. A lot of times you can buy it on your phone or you go there, you can pick your seats. You're picking your seats and you're intentionally in a theater that's not fully packed. You're intentionally sitting next to people. Those people need to be shot.
I'd rather not.
Yeah. I try to
I'd
go.
rather not.
There's so many times I go to the movies and like I'll look until me and Graham will look until the last minute and see there's people right here. All right. So we'll wait till the preview start and move down a row because nobody's in B. I don't want nobody fucking even me and him. There's a seat in between.
A lot of times I pick the latest show to go to.
Yeah.
Whether it be 11:15, 11:30, 11:45, whatever the latest show they have is,
That's a good time.
that's when I like to go.
That's a good time to go. What other movies have you seen recently? Because now we're in the streaming realm, so we have Netflix and Hulu. They drop movies all the time. What have you been into lately?
Well, actually, when we mentioned Black Mass, I just watched that. What's today? Friday? I think Wednesday. I just caught it, so that's fresh in my mind.
Yeah, that was a good one.
A lot of times with Netflix or Tubi, anything like that, I just skim through.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever catches my eye. That's actually how I saw Terrifier a few years ago.
It was on Tubi.
It was on Tubi.
Yeah,
Yep.
which is crazy.
Mhm. And that's actually how I came across. So sometimes you come across a diamond in the rough.
Right. Are there any movies that haven't come out yet that are scheduled to come out that you're looking to see besides Terrifier 3?
Just Terrifier 3 right now.
Yeah. Nothing else coming out? I don't know. I feel like Smile 2's coming
I
out.
don't even feel like I see previews for movies anymore.
That's because you don't go to the movies.
No, but even on, because everything's streaming now, I don't feel like I see, just especially when you were little, you used to see movie previews all the time on TV. I can't tell you the last time I saw one.
Now it's like they drop.
That wasn't at the movies.
Right. Now it's like they drop the individual trailer on YouTube, and that's where you would go see it. You don't. They're not ads for it like on that I see. I don't have like regular cable, but I don't see them either. I just see them all the time because I go to the movies a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But all right. So no other movies coming out.
I'm a movie buff, but it doesn't mean I go to the movies. A lot.
Right. That's fair. Yeah, I know a lot of old school movies. All right. What about in the TV realm? Again, in the streaming world, you just said that you binged The Ranch.
Yes. I think I have 2 episodes left.
Is that series done now?
Yes. It looks like 2020 is when it ended. I
Really?
think. Yeah.
Was it, how many seasons do they do? 2 or 3?
Well, on Netflix, it's in 8 parts.
Oh, okay.
I think there's 80 episodes. It was 10 episodes to a part.
It's Ashton and is Sam Elliott? Is this
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, the premise seems funny. I haven't watched it, though.
If you're into one-liners and just funny shit to say,
Yeah.
it's the show for you.
Gotcha. All right.
Well, in today's politically correct world, it kind of pokes fun at all that.
Sure.
Sam Elliott's character is anything but politically correct.
Right.
So
As you would expect.
it's like another Last Man Standing, which was a really big show that I got into with Tim Allen.
Yeah.
Love that show.
Yeah.
And that it's along the same premise of that.
Gotcha. Okay. Haven't seen it. I'll put it on my list. That I can do. 8 parts I can do. I'm not doing 7 seasons of fucking Breaking Bad. I ain't doing it.
Again, Last Man Standing was great for the simple fact he's the only guy in the house.
Yeah.
And I think we could all relate to what that must be like.
Right. I was just gonna say something. Somebody just tipped me off about this, and then I just saw that it was on Amazon. I just started literally yesterday. Tulsa King. Have you seen?
I haven't got into that.
No. Do you have Amazon?
Yes.
Check it out. Stallone. You can't go wrong.
Like we were saying earlier about Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
That's another one I've heard a lot of great reviews about.
Mm-hmm. I think they just launched the 2nd season of Tulsa King. So there's not that many episodes. It's very easy to get caught up on.
I have to get into something where I know I can get caught up, because if I can't, I'm not interested.
So far, I've liked what I've seen out of it anyway. And that was one where people were just telling me about it. I'm like, and I saw it on Amazon. It was like Stars or something. Any other shows? Like, do you watch regular cable shows at all? That
Not
you keep
really.
up on? No.
I usually just flip through Netflix and Tubi and all the streaming apps, really, just looking for something to watch.
Yeah, whatever's on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of another series that I got into. What did I just finish? I just finished something on, I think, the Netflix. Oh, well, I always watch the documentaries, too. You watch any of those?
I love documentaries.
Yeah. Did you watch the Menendez brothers? The show. I know they just came out with a documentary. You watched the show?
Haven't seen either yet.
Yeah, I think you might like the show.
It's one of those things with the Menendez brothers that I was never fascinated by it. And I'm still not.
You might want to watch the show, though, because there's a lot of, you'll never have any clarity out of it, but you can kind of see the kid's point of view, but then you're like, how much of it was real and how much of it wasn't
My
real?
fascination with something is usually what leads me to a TV show
Sure.
or a documentary.
Yeah.
But I haven't had that with the Menendez brothers. Nothing about that crime really ever intrigued me.
Yeah, I think it was just because they were rich where it was, interesting.
I was really young when it happened, too. That was that early 90s?
I believe so. Late
I was
80s,
only a
early
kid,
90s.
so
Yeah.
it didn't interest me then. Not that it doesn't now.
Right.
It's just not one of those crimes though that I'm like overly intrigued by.
I just thought it was crazy because they were rich. They killed the parents. They went on a spending spree. Like, what would drive you to do that?
I am big in I probably watch YouTube more than I watch anything else, and I'm big into video vloggers.
Yeah.
One of the things I saw, one of the vloggers I watched, it's in a museum. There's a card. I can't remember. I think it's a Mark Jackson card.
Yeah.
And the Menendez brothers are in the background. Yep. I saw that. That's crazy.
You can buy it on eBay too.
Apparently,
it's like $50.
Is that the same day that they did it or something like that? They said.
I don't know if it was the same day. I think it was because it was like late. It was like early morning. I think, but it was after the parents were already dead.
Yes, and they went out to a basketball game.
Yeah. Have you seen the picture of the card?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
pretty wild.
Yep.
They're selling it now because of the
crazy.
shows. It's going up in
With
value.
what we all know now, to see that card,
Yeah, it's crazy.
crazy.
It's wild. All right, let's move over to the music side. What are you into right now? I mean, you've been telling me about this one band that's your new
Volbeat.
favorite. I still have yet to listen.
I don't even know how I came across Volbeat. It was kind of by accident. So when you're on, I think I was on Apple. It might have been Apple or Spotify, but I think it was Apple. If you listen to an album or any set genre of music, when that album stops, it just carries over into something like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had seen an Instagram story at the time with Volbeat. Somebody had used Volbeat as their background for the music. And I said, man, I like that sound. Who is that? So I checked out Volbeat, and one thing led to another, and now I'm probably every album in deep with these guys.
You know, when you sent it to me, I was surprised how many albums that they've done.
They've been around, and that's what amazes me. They've been around for so long, yet it took me forever to find these guys, and they're absolutely amazing.
Have you seen them live?
I haven't. I think this year they were working on a new album. I think next year is another world tour.
Wow.
And that's definitely on the list.
That's on your bucket list.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I would imagine that maybe they would do, if they did a summertime thing, maybe over at Great Woods or something.
Fine by me.
Potentially.
Anything. At this point, I was actually really disappointed. When I got into them, it was like one of those things, instant.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had looked into it earlier this year and found out they were taking the year off to dedicate to their other projects.
Yep.
So we got new music coming
Yeah, there you go.
and a new tour, hopefully in 2025.
Nice. Well, you'll be there.
I hope so.
What other music have you been getting into?
For me, it's the same old.
Yeah, yeah.
I never ventured away from what I first fell in love with.
Yeah.
Everything for me is rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy the occasional country, but mostly 90s, 2000s, 2010s for country. I really haven't, even new country right now, anything that's come out in the last 5 years or so, I'm really not big into.
It's funny because that seems to be the cutoff for a lot of people that I know that liked country growing up or around the time I started getting into it, because I'm the same way. If you have Sirius XM, that Y2 Countries, it does 90s and 2000s, and I think it stops around maybe like 2015, but I might even back that up a little bit more. I got really into like that 90s stuff, but also around 2012, 13.
That's probably when I stopped listening to country religiously, about 2015, 2016.
Yeah, because now it's just, I don't know. I get the whole vibe of country, but the new stuff, it's literally whiskey this and whiskey that. It's just so... But then there's some good artists and some songs that I like too, like Luke Combs. Like I like some of these one-off songs, but...
Like I just said to you, I think it was the other day, seeing Metallica back in August rejuvenated my love for them.
Yeah.
It's like I really forgot how much I appreciated Metallica.
Right.
Seeing them live for the first time, one of the best rock and roll shows I've ever been to.
You pulled up listening to something. What was it? Reload?
Reload. I've probably been listening to Reload now for a month.
I know you said that.
I don't know what it is. I'm a huge fan of Load.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Reload...
I got to go back and
I'm starting to put
listen.
it in front of Load.
Oh, stop yourself. Stop it.
I know it's an unpopular take, but yeah.
I got to go back and listen because I think the way I rank their studio albums, I think that one I may have had dead last. They have some good songs.
I think most people would, though.
I think to me it felt like the throwaways from Load. And then if you watch the documentary, Some Kind of Monster, they kind of alluded to that where they said they had they had so many songs. The songs that didn't make Load, they kind of just made Reload because they had so many.
For me, though, it kind of makes sense just because when an album comes out, I always find the deep tracks.
Yeah, yeah.
It's never the single that I fall in love with. It's always a deeper track.
Yeah.
And I feel like with what you just said, Reload kind of being like Load's throwaways.
Yeah.
It's almost like that entire album to me is better now than Load.
I got to go back and listen.
It's like they're just deeper tracks.
Right. The deep cuts. What were you listening to when you were coming in? I heard Reload. I don't know what song it was.
It wasn't Attitude. Bad Seed. I can't remember which one it was on.
Yeah. They had some good songs on there.
Fixer. My favorite's Devil's Dance.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Devil's Dance.
Yeah. That seems to be more of like the vibe. What's your favorite Metallica album? I mean, is it like recency bias is telling you Reload, or you still give the nod to like Black Album? Yeah.
Probably the Black Album.
Yeah.
And I know how many people are probably going to hate hearing that. It's
their best sounding album.
When you think of rock and roll music, that's just one of those albums where from start to finish, it hits a nail on the head. Mm-hmm. Every song, there's not a bad song.
No.
Not one bad track on that album.
I think sound wise, I've always said that they
was Bob Rock a producer on that one as well?
Yep. I think that was might have been the first time that they hooked up,
I think it was the first time they worked
with
Bob
so.
Rock. And to me,
and the reason was, I mean, once they got to that big time producer, he had to change. He tried to change a lot of their. I mean, before that it was Justice, and there was no bass on it.
It just seems like anything Bob Rock touches turns to gold.
Yeah, because he also worked with Motley Crue.
Motley Crue's been a big one. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, what else? Anything else? Any concerts you're looking forward to?
Just Volbeat.
Just Volbeat.
I'm really looking forward to Volbeat.
Disturbed's coming around. 20th anniversary of the... Have you seen Disturbed in concert?
I don't know if I've ever seen Disturbed.
They're solid.
I'm not sure if they've opened up for anybody I've seen before.
They're consistent. It sounds like the album.
I can't remember.
When they play.
It wasn't them on Crew Fest, was it?
I don't think they played Crew Fest.
I'm thinking of Godsmack.
Godsmack did.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Godsmack.
Another one consistent in concert. They just came around too.
Great live show.
Yeah, very good. All right.
They're not the boys from Boston, but they too are.
They are
homegrown.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anything else there, Mr. Cousin Lee?
No, this was awesome, man.
Well, thank you. Let's see what the runtime. I haven't even looked. Dude, everybody finishes within a minute. It's crazy.
Did I win? Was I the shortest?
No. But they were all around the same amount.
It all comes back to racing, man.
It did. It does. And your boy is where are they racing on Sunday?
The Charlotte Roval.
Okay. And we don't know where he's at yet, right? He's got a race tomorrow.
He basically just needs a solid day, Sunday, and he moves on to the round of 8.
How many more races after Sunday?
I believe there is 4 left in the season.
Including Sunday.
Including Sunday. Yep.
So there's only 4 left.
I think including Sunday, 5, and then 4 left in the year.
So the round of 8 is after this Sunday.
This week, yep.
Who's the points leader right now? Or is it because it reset?
William Byron actually has advanced on points already, so he's already into the round of 8. But Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson are pretty much, if they just start the race and nothing crazy or out of the ordinary happens, they're moving on as well.
Man, all right. Well, we'll see. Maybe next time you come on, we'll have a championship here.
So, man, I hope so.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.